And so one sunny afternoon, during their usual bedtime, Amarachi, curious about her father's body part, pointed at Emeka. Daddy, what is this? She asked innocently. Emeka burst into laughter and made a joke of it, brushing off her curiosity. To him, she was just an innocent child, but her attachment to him grew stronger, and soon father and daughter became inseparable. It had been 12 long years since Ada and Emeka said their vows, 12 years of whispered prayers, dashed hopes, and silent tears. Their families had grown restless. Friends offered unsolicited advice. Some even whispered that Emeka might take a second wife if Ada couldn't bear him a child. Emeka's mother, on the other hand, wouldn't let up. She would often call him, crying and begging him to do something about the situation. Ada's friend would tease her, asking if she was barren or her husband is impotent. The couple tried to ignore the comments, enduring the shame and pressure. Their love, however, was unwavering. They leaned on each other, shutting out the noise from the world. Ada, with her soft smile and quiet strength, always believed in miracles. Emeka, ever the optimist, often assured her, "Our time will come, we just have to wait," he would say to her in a soft tone, and they continued to wait patiently, clinging to their hope and faith. Then one chilly Harmattan morning, Ada woke up feeling different. Her body felt heavy, and a strange nausea overtook her. Emeka rushed her to the clinic. When the doctor confirmed her pregnancy, they both wept tears of joy. Their miracle had finally come. News spread fast, and the once critical family members now celebrated. Gifts poured in, prayers and blessings were said. The couple were finally free from the shadow of societal expectations, and life became brighter than ever before. 9 months later, amidst laughter and tears, their baby girl Amarachi was born. Her name meant grace, a reminder of the long road they had traveled to hold her in their arms. She had her father's dimples and her mother's big curious eyes. As they took Amarachi home, Emeka couldn't stop staring at her. He was amazed by how perfect she was, with her tiny hands and feet, while Ada cradled her like the most precious treasure. "She's perfect," Emeka whispered, his voice choked with emotion. His mother, who was sitting nearby, laughed at him, saying he was already a doting father. "She's our gift," Ada smiled, tears streaming down her cheeks. The rest of that day was filled with whining and joyous moments. Little did they know, this joy would soon come with challenges that would test their bond in ways they never imagined. From the moment Amarachi entered their lives, Emeka was utterly captivated by her. She became his entire world. He pampered her endlessly and insisted on being involved in every part of her care. He would rock her to sleep, change her diapers, and sing her lullabies in his rich baritone voice. At first, Ada found it heartwarming. She loved watching Emeka bond so deeply with their daughter. "She's a daddy's girl already," Ada would say with a laugh. As Amarachi continued to grow, Emeka's attachment and love for her deepened. He used her picture as his phone screensaver and placed it on the wall in his office, staring at it whenever he is less busy. As if that was not enough, he would rush home from work just to spend time with Amarachi. He was the one to give her bath, dress her in her little frocks, and feed her mashed vegetables. Every night he insisted, she slept between them on their bed. She's still so little, he would say, whenever Ada suggested transitioning Amarachi to her own grip. I just want her close. Ada didn't argue much. She was grateful for Emeka's involvement. After all, many women complained about distant husbands, but hers was fully present. Still, a small voice in the back of her mind wondered if his devotion was becoming too much. As Amarachi grew into a toddler, she became inseparable from her father. Wherever Emeka went, she wanted to follow. She would cling to his leg, refusing to let go, even when Ada tried to take her from him. Emeka would just smile and say that she was his little shadow. "Daddy!" she would call out with a grin that could melt anyone's heart. Emeka would always oblige, lifting her onto his shoulders and carrying her around like a princess. Ada watched from the sidelines, her heart both swelling with love and tightening with unease. She adored their bond, but was it normal for a father to be so attached? She thought in her mind, but decided not to dwell on it. After all, they were happy. As time went on, Amarachi would refuse to bathe without her father and would often cry and insisted on following him to the bathroom whenever he's taking his bath. Emeka would allow her in as he didn't want a tear to drop from her eyes. And so one sunny afternoon, during their usual bath time, Amarachi, curious about her father's body part, pointed at Emeka. "Daddy, what is this?" she asked innocently. Emeka burst into laughter and made a joke of it, brushing off her curiosity. To him, she was just an innocent child, but her attachment to him grew stronger, and soon father and daughter became inseparable. Ada started to feel like she was losing her daughter to her husband. She would try to spend quality time with Amarachi, but Emeka would always find a way to insert himself into their activities. Ada began to feel like a spectator in her own daughter's life. Despite her concern, she tried to brush it off, thinking that Emeka would eventually loosen his grip on Amarachi as she grew older. But as the years went by, Emeka's behavior only became more intense, and Amarachi's behavior too became more and more erratic. At school, no one dared talk to Amarachi anyhow, not even her class teacher. She would come back home to report to her father, and Emeka would rush to the school authority the next day to pour out his grief. Whenever she does something wrong at home and her mother tried to scold her, Emeka would always intervene, saying that she was just a child. She would throw tantrums when she didn't get her way and would refuse to listen to her mother. Emeka would step in, calming Amarachi down and giving her whatever she wanted. Ada became heartbroken as she was losing control of her family. She tried to talk to Emeka about it, but he would dismiss her concerns, saying that she was being jealous. Amarachi was now a preteen, and Emeka was still insisting on bathing and dressing her up. Ada was at her wit's end, but every time she tried to talk to Emeka about it, he would just dismiss her concerns, saying that she was being paranoid. "You are spoiling her," Ada said one evening, and she watched Emeka let Amarachi climb into their bed again. "She's old enough to sleep in her own room," Ada said. "She's still my baby," Emeka replied, tucking the blanket around Amarachi. "You worry too much and you are being jealous," he said. Jealous of what? Ada would ask herself. Jealous of the fact that her husband was more attached to their daughter than her? She wondered. Little did Emeka know that his actions were setting the stage for a dramatic and potentially devastating outcome. As Amarachi grew into a teenager, her attachment to Emeka only grew stronger and her behavior became even more troubling. She started dressing like a boy, rejecting all the beautiful dresses her mother bought for her. She cut her hair short and insisted on being called Des. Ada tried to intervene, but Emeka always took Amarachi's side. She's expressing herself. Let her be, he said. Ada felt powerless. The bond between father and daughter was unbreakable, and she began to feel like an outsider in her own family. Even as a teenager, Amarachi continued to follow her father everywhere. She would walk into the bathroom to ease herself when her father is taking his bath. Ada, the ever concerned mother, tried to talk to her daughter about it, but Amarachi would just shrug it off, saying that it's her father and not an outsider. Emeka, on the other hand, seemed to be encouraging his daughter's behavior, as he didn't see anything wrong with her actions. Ada did not know what to do anymore. She felt like she was losing her daughter, and she didn't know how to stop it. As Ada's concerns deepened, she poured out her worries. Emeka, you are spoiling this child, she said one evening as they sat in their bedroom. She's too attached to you. She needs to learn boundaries, Ada said, concern raising her voice. Emeka waved her off. You are just being jealous because she loves me more, he said with a chuckle. This isn't about jealousy, Ada replied, her voice firm. But Emeka refused to listen. As Amarachi approached her 18th birthday, Emeka's world revolved entirely around her. He became less attentive to Ada, brushing aside her attempt at conversation or affection. If Amarachi called, he would drop everything to attend to her, even in the middle of discussion with Ada. He would buy her expensive gifts, take her on lavish vacations, and even let her drive his car. One evening, Ada suggested they go on a date night, just the two of them. We haven't had time for ourselves in years, Emeka, Ada said, her eyes filled with emotion. Emeka frowned, looking genuinely confused. Why should we leave Amarachi behind? She's part of our family, he said. Ada's smile faltered. Of course she is, but sometimes couples need time alone, she replied him. You are overthinking this, Ada. We are fine as we are, he replied her dismissively. The rejection stung, but Ada kept quiet. She didn't want to create tension. Yet as time went on, her unease grew. Amarachi's attachment to her father had become intense. She refused to do anything without him and had no friend apart from her father. Ada's frustration grew, but she didn't know how to address it. She loved her husband and adored her daughter, yet the imbalance in their family dynamic was becoming impossible to ignore. She resolved to find a way to bring her concerns to Emeka without alienating him. Little did she know the situation would soon spiral beyond anything she could have imagined. As Amarachi finished her secondary school education, Emeka made sure she got admission into a nearby university so she could be going to school from home. His effort worked and Amarachi was admitted. Ada, who thought that higher institution would be an opportunity for her daughter to gain some independence, became more worried and concerned when she found out about Emeka's plan, but was powerless at his decision. As Amarachi resumed school, she insisted on her father's presence for everything: school events, shopping trips, and when she had difficult assignments. Emeka was very happy with everything. It's not healthy, Ada confided in her sister Nkechi one afternoon. She clings to him like she can't breathe without him. Ikechi frowned. And what about Emeka? She asked. He dismisses it, Ada said, her voice heavy with frustration. He says I'm jealous. Can you imagine? Jealous? Nkechi's eyebrows shot up. Ada, this is not just about you. It's about Amarachi. What happens when she has to face the world without him? That question lingered in Ada's mind, and by evening, she tried to broach the subject with Emeka again. You are her father and not her world, she said gently. She needs to learn independence. Emeka's expression darkened. Ada, she's our daughter, and my job is to protect her. Why is that so hard for you to understand? You are not protecting her, Ada replied, her voice trembling. You are holding her back. The argument escalated, their voices rising until Amarachi appeared at the door, her eyes wide with fear. Are you two fighting because of me? She asked softly. Emeka immediately softened, pulling Amarachi into his arms. No, my angel, everything is fine, he said. But everything was far from fine. That night, Ada lay awake, staring at the ceiling. She knew something had to change. If Emeka wouldn't listen, she would find another way to help her daughter, even if it meant doing it alone. Ada decided to seek advice from her cousin, Dr. Becky, who was a child psychologist. Her cousin listened to her concerns and then dropped a bombshell. Emeka's behavior was not just overly attached, it was also potentially abusive, a classic case of emotional incest. He was using Amarachi to fulfill his own emotional needs rather than allowing her to develop her own identity, she explained. Ada was horrified. She never thought of it that way, that her husband's behavior could be so damaging. She didn't know what to do, but knew she had to do something. She asked her cousin what she could do to stop it, and Dr. Becky advised her to seek professional help for Emeka and to set clear boundaries with him regarding his behavior with Amarachi. She also encouraged Ada to spend more quality time with her daughter to help her develop her own sense of identity. Ada left her cousin's office feeling determined. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she was willing to do whatever it took to save her daughter. That evening, Ada sat with Emeka, trying to talk to him about his behavior, but he just laughed it off. You are just jealous of the special bond I have with Amarachi, he said, his voice dripping with condescension. Ada felt a surge of anger, but she tried to keep her cool. She explained to Emeka that his behavior was not healthy and that it was affecting Amarachi's development. Emeka refused to listen. He stormed out of the room, leaving Ada feeling frustrated and defeated. I hope you enjoyed this story that has so many moral lessons. Comment what you have learned below. Please support the channel by liking the video, share to your friends and family, and please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more. Thanks and God bless you. See you in the other videos.